Stop time, it's like 10 minutes too, right?
Just the wash.
No, you don't need it, as long as your head is covered.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
So it's live right now, right?
Can
It
they
is.
see me?
And that's a YouTube, right? That's on YouTube?
I mean, if you want to talk to people, I can flip it so you can,
No, I don't think anybody's
but
on.
there was 2, there's 0 at the moment.
Yeah, it's through YouTube.
I think so, I mean, about time, about a minute or so. Well, she's gonna send him down, right?
Yeah, they're on their way.
Yeah, send him down, please.
Does it tell you how many people are on or no?
Not how many, but there's 1 device currently signed in.
Have you met Olive? Have you met, like, your dad's aunt, what, sister-in-law, right? That's Lisa.
I'm Olivia, it's nice to meet you.
Hi,
Olivia.
I haven't seen you since you came to see Eliana's show.
Oh, yeah.
That was a long,
right.
you grew like way.
I know,
Yeah,
that
she
was
got
really
so
grew.
tall.
I know, it's
Fast.
been a little bit.
It's good to see you
Good to see you
again.
also. I'm glad you're doing well.
Are you referred to as Liv?
Olivia, Liv,
Yeah.
either one.
So Olivia's a funeral director, so I always refer to her as Liv, because it's kind of
Really?
ironic.
It's fun. Well, yeah, my friends say like they have really good names.
Service is this way. There's programs, the register books.
Yeah.
That was like the start of conference.
I'll sit back there. We only did that until we and the one is the taste, you know, I never developed taste for my film. So, and your taste will change with age. I didn't get mushrooms until I was 20. I didn't get olives until I was
She's like all us.
His favorite is the pizza and love.
She's all.
Right. But you know, but yeah, like I said, I didn't think it was wrong.
Nah, my wife. Yeah. Oh my gosh, Dave. Kenny?
Oh, how you doing?
Danger, why did you say danger? Danger.
I talked to her today.
Your sister?
Yeah, well, I went for dinner in the summertime. Really?
Who's this at? Thank you. Get your old buddies in here.
Want another Corvette? Oh,
Sure, sure. Remember, you know Kenny, and did you ever know this guy?
We walked in.
You know David Daniels, he lived right around the corner from us?
How's it going? Mark.
Jamie is how old? She's older.
5 years old.
Hi, I'm Lloyd. What's your last name?
He didn't go to.
No,
he went to
Niles
more. I was close.
He's Jewish.
Close but no cigars.
Yeah, right, so you said like one of them, by life experience, that's like.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Very nice.
No, no, this is well, I would tell you this, it wasn't the worst illness I ever had, that I ever experienced, but it was the longest viral infection that I had. That was, I had symptoms.
No, it's just every time you're standing in front of the live stream. No, it's fine, just if you're gonna stand, maybe over there.
No, they're,
Oh.
The old house behind
The old house? We used to talk the old house behind it?
Yeah, we own that.
I saw like.
Well, I took a test.
Hello.
I mean, I
Oh, my God. It's so hard to see with people with their, mask, yeah.
That's a good Spanish
I knew Mark immediately.
David,
Then I started suspecting.
I don't know how. What you say?
thank you. Lloyd, David.
I got it pretty good.
You know Kenny Tickman? David, yeah, did we ever golf together? Hello. Big golfer. And Vicky Tickman?
No, no, it's not. I knew it all.
It is.
In the south.
I don't know. Me too. Can we go in the second entrance? I don't like really. Take plans. Wheels.
It was possible when I left.
I give them, I like to give them fingers, sometimes I'll walk out.
He's on your side.
Yeah.
Mark,
Oh, here's Mark.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
How have you been?
Yeah. It's so nice that you came. I know you were out of town. Congratulations on your accomplishment. It's awesome. We want to, get that state. Maybe you can bring him on.
They're outside the paper.
You know, I have some memories, Randy, when I go to your
Edna's house, and she had all those old music.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
was,
you could just
it was
go
like a
there.
museum in there.
Yeah, well, that's what my uncle was.
Oh, I remember.
Remember the
I
car?
was kind of near,
Gentlemen, we're about
West
to begin
River
the
Park
service.
somewhere over
By
there.
Winston Tower.
Yeah.
They,
If you have a cell phone, would you please place it in the silent mode at this time? The funeral is going to be conducted by Rabbi Michael Tillman.
Friends, before we begin the service, we shall perform a very ancient ritual, which is called Kriya in the Hebrew language. The ritual in question dates back to the biblical period of the Jewish history. In the text of the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, we find that whenever people receive sad news, including those of a passing of a loved one, they would tear their clothes and put a dust upon the head as a sign of mourning. And the custom of rent in our garment when the clothes relative passes away, we retain our community to this day. So at this time, we will tear the ribbon even to the immediate family. So everyone who has the ribbon, please make a vertical tear on it, or you may be assisted by someone else. Sorry,
What happened to my?
well, you got it. You got it.
Oh, okay.
You got it.
You know, this means
You got it?
what?
It means mourning.
Okay.
Blessed be Lord our God, ruler of the universe, judge of truth. Amen. Now we're gonna do what they do at Moscow Supper. You go from the checkpoint, you pay your fare, and then you go like this.
yeah, excellent.
About 3,000 years ago, there was a great king in Israel. He's known in our history as King David. He was a great warrior. In fact, he conquered Jerusalem. He made Jerusalem the capital of the ancient Israelite state. He made a decision to erect a temple on what was now known as the Temple Mount. He was a poet. He was a dancer. He was a musician. An amazing man. But he was also a father. There's a story about King David that he was blessed with a child, with a little boy, and then a disaster struck. The baby fell ill, gravely ill. For 7 days, the child was in a critical condition, as we would call it now. David isolated himself from the world, would not receive any visitors, would not take any food or drink, spent all of his time in prayer and contemplation. On the 8th day, the child died. But the members of the court initially were quite reluctant to break this news to the king. Who knows how would he react? He's the king. Finally, they gathered themselves together. They entered the chambers and said, "Almighty King, the child is dead." What happened next was truly astounding. It shocked them. David got up, ordered them to bring him white clothing, which in ancient times was the clothing worn for celebrations. And he also ordered to arrange a banquet table. He said, "How come? When the child was sick, but yet alive, you were basically mourning. And now when told that he's dead, you want to celebrate and have a banquet." And David said, "In the course of these days, I understood something very important. It is not in my power to bring him back. I'm a mere mortal. I cannot question, much less change God's will. Sometime we will meet again. But now," said David, "now I must continue to live days measured for me." Today, my friends, is a very difficult, very tough day for all of us. There's absolutely no question about it. Randy's passing is untimely. It is painful. It is sad. We're here to support one another. We're here to support, of course, Randy's family, Charlene, and his brothers, and everyone. All of that is true. But we must remember that advice that King David gave to us 3,000 years ago. We're mere mortals. It is not in our power to change God's will. We wish we could, but we can't. God's ways are unfathomable to us. We know that sometime we will meet again, but once again, no rush, no rush. This is one place nobody's gonna tell you you're late, trust me. Remember that, Charlene? Remember that, But now we must continue to live days measured for us. Why? There are two reasons for that. One reason is that the Jewish tradition is a life-affirming tradition. Judaism is a religion of life. And the second reason is let us ask ourselves, what would Randy want us? What do we want us to do? You know the answer. We want us to run. To have a good time. To drive nice cars. To support Green Bay Packers. Maybe we beg to disagree, I know that. He would want us to have a good time. To live well. That's what he would want us to do. That's his legacy. So we must continue to live days measured for us, in honor and in memory of Randy. According to our tradition, King David composed this psalm after he suffered this terrible loss of his child, the worst experience that a human being can have in this life. And the psalm is very well known. It is known as Psalm 23. And please pay attention that it's very interesting. You can sense the pain of the author, but it's not negative. There's no negativity in this psalm. It's very positive. The Lord is my shepherd, says King David. He comes from the shepherd's family, hence the imagery. And he says that God is the source of our strength. But let us also remember, let me remind you, this is not just a nice way of saying it. It's not just a figure of speech. It's not an abstract concept. It's not a philosophical construct. God's support can manifest itself, it does manifest itself in a very specific phenomenon in this world, through our support of one another. Because God is not in heaven, God is not inside of us, God is in a relationship between two human beings. When there is energy, positive energy, in the relationship, that's what the divine presence is. Nowhere else. Psalm 23. Mizmor LeDavid. Adonai hu lo yachsar, bino deshi yalbitzen almin nugot yanachaleni nafshi yeshuveh, aheni b'magle tzedek lema'an shmo, gam ki elar begetz al-mavet lo yirara ki ata imadi, shiftacham b'shantei hema nachamuni, ta'aroch lefana shulchan neged tzorarai, dishanta b'shemen roshi kosir avaya, achto b'hesed yardafuni kol yamei chayai, v'shakti b'veit Adonai le'orot yamei. If you wish, you can join me, feel free to do so. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in this great path for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for Thou art with me. Thy rod and Thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Randy's soul is now with the Almighty God, but you will also continue to live here on earth in our hearts and our minds. So let us remember that legacy that Randy is leaving behind. Now, our rabbis taught us that every human soul, every human being is unique in the absolute sense of that word, that every human soul is a world, a universe in itself. But some people are just more unique than others. And Randy was really a very unique individual. And to quote Todd, he did his own thing. He did his thing. There are things that he enjoyed doing, things that were important to him, and he did them. Now, born in Chicago, went to Neutral West, got his degree in accounting from Northeastern Illinois University. Yeah, Northwestern wasn't his thing. Northeastern. So then, again, one thing I remember, he loved people. He loved people. He was an outgoing guy. He loved to talk to people. He was very kind. He was very positive. I told you, it's all about the positivity. What did he like to do? Well, I already mentioned one thing. Well, I mentioned a couple of things. He loved running. Okay, there is running and there is running. I'm a runner myself. In the summer, I run 5-6 days a week, 4 miles. In the winter, I run when it's not too hot outside. Randy was in a totally different league. Okay, he ran 8 to 10 miles. And I tell you, like right now, he would have run. I wouldn't even come close anywhere. You would rather, in fact, if you remember what the weather was like today morning, it was gloom and snow, he still would have run. You're gonna do it. That's amazing. Now, and in fact, you also, and I appreciate Ken showing me the picture, because told me that, but I couldn't quite visualize it because that is just difficult to conceive for any human being. But she showed me the photograph of Randy standing in the snow in a clear, frosty day, wearing shorts. T-shirt and short. That's Randy right there. And that's our man. So, it was a lesson here to tell us. Be brave, be strong, be ripped. He was ripped. Good shape. Randy had passions that were very unusual, especially against the background of him being a native of Chicago. He was a fan of the Green Bay Packers, I already mentioned that, which is really politically incorrect. I mean, he rode a motorcycle, he even had like a Packers helmet. You know, thank God there was not a hot-headed driver after the Bears law school when I run him off and knock him off the road. I mean, in Chicago you can have those crazy people. But at the same time, I can sympathize with that particular passion of his, because number one, Green Bay Packers is the only team in the entire NFL, not to say the professional sports, that is owned by the people.
Including him, you own the share.
Oh, there we go. It's owned by the people. It's not owned by a successful businessman or billionaire. So there is a good reason for it. It's respectable. And number two is that we know that the record of the Green Bay Packers is a lot more appealing than that of the Chicago Bears. Pretty much. So, well, it's the reality, much as we love our Bears. Another passion of his when it comes to baseball, again, was politically incorrect. Not the Cubs, not the White Sox, no, it was St. Louis Cardinals. Again, another much maligned team in the Chicago Land, but all the same, he loved them. Motorcycle already mentioned, but besides the motorcycles, Randy loved cars. He was a passionate automobile enthusiast. He watched the car shows, and he loved good, beautiful, nice cars. And another thing that he enjoyed, of course, is his family. He loved his mother, Charlene. Was a very loving son. His dad, Bird, may memory be a blessing. And he has 3 brothers, Todd, Dan, and Liv and Emily told me how much he enjoyed spending time with them. And he loved the entire family, of course, and Michael and Lauren. And he loved his siblings, he loved his family, and enjoyed spending time with them. So at this time, my friends, we shall continue to reflect on Randy's life, on his legacy, through the thoughts and reminiscences of his siblings, of his brothers. So first, Todd will share with us his thoughts about it.
First of all, I want to thank everybody for coming today and people who are watching on YouTube, because this was a very difficult day for me, but seeing my friends and family out there are making it a little bit easier, so I really appreciate that. So, some of Randy's favorite things, like the rabbi was talking, I already told you, but I'm gonna kind of go over it again. It was like 8 to 15 miles he ran every day, no matter what the weather was. I used to say to him, are you crazy? You're running like that in this weather? And he said, no problem. But I figured you probably have to be a little crazy to be out there. I always see people running, and like, that's not me. And he kind of was known in the area for the guy that ran with cut-off blue jeans. He wore cut-off blue jeans and a hat all the time. And one of our neighbors is actually a big-time runner. And we were talking one day, and she said, "That's your brother?" I've seen that guy all over the place. So they all knew this guy that was always running in his cutoff jeans. So that was kind of one of his like little trademarks. Another huge part of his life was the Green Bay Packers, and he, as the rabbi mentioned, his motorcycle had the Green Bay Packers license plate framed on it. His car did too. And the funniest was he had the helmet that looked like a Green Bay Packer helmet that they wore. And so that was really funny. Then he did have a Cardinal one too that he would switch off now and then. So, and like the Chicago Bears fans would sometimes like blow him a hard time, give him a hard time. He didn't care. He would just kind of laugh at them and thought it was funny. He just loved his Packers. And he loved them so much that he bought a share of the Green Bay Packers just so he can go to the meetings and be part of it and get the insight and see what they were actually doing for the next season. So he just loved it. And it was really a shame. I'm getting upset over the Packers, but when we were talking about the game the other night and when they lost at the end with that field goal. Well, no, that was Green Bay?
It was a field goal,
Yeah.
they.
My heart dropped. It really did. I was so upset about it, and it was kind of a weird thing because when my father passed away, is the year that the Yankees won the World Series, and my dad was from New York and was a diehard New York Yankee fan. And when he was in the hospital, he was actually, kind of out of it, but we had the game on for him. So I was just thinking, wow, this was really something now. The Green Bay Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl, and that would have just been the icing on the cake. So I really wish they had gone there. And as far as the Cardinals, don't ask me why, but ever since we were kids, I was a Cubs fan and he was a Cardinals fan. Don't really know why, and the only time he would step foot into Wrigley Field was if the Cardinals were playing. I offered him sometimes tickets, and a friend of ours had great tickets, and I said, hey, you want to go? And he'd be like, nah, no interest, sitting second row behind the dugout, the Cubs, but if the Cardinals were playing, he'd be interested. So it was a little with his sport things. He adored my children, Emily and Olivia. They brought so much joy to his life. And Randy and Olivia had a secret little text messaging thing going on all the time, and I thought that was really cute. They would text back and forth. And I was talking to one of Randy's old friends who is here today, Mark Zuzik, who I'm very good friends as well with. And Mark brought back many little things the other day when he emailed me. We all have so many memories hanging out on Allison Lane where we grew up. And I forgot about watching the Subaru. His first car was a Subaru before anybody even knew what Subarus were in this country. Having my dog Fritz, the German Shepherd, pulling us on a skateboard. His dog was just wild, and we had the skateboard, and he would just pull us all around. Me, Mark, Randy, myself, we would all go to my dad's car dealership in Barrington on Saturdays. Mark went with us a bunch of times. We'd be washing cars, and I think we got paid, they paid us $5 or $10, and we'd get a check, and we'd run to Alpine Pharmacy and cash it. That was a lot of fun. He loved his stereo, his KEF speakers, which he still has. Still has them. He's got his Nakamichi tape deck, everything. Randy turned both of us, me and Mark, onto Little Feat. That's a band, and we used to listen to that a lot. Which I don't remember this one, but we had our house, on Allison Lane, and the house behind us, as we called it, the old house. My dad owned that house as well. And we referred to the old house, and there was like a detached garage, and there was always like weird people living in this house that my dad rented them to. And there was a station wagon in there, and I guess the two of them went in the station wagon, and I guess the keys were, they just had to start it up. And how old were you? Not old enough to drive probably, and they were probably revving the engine. Just all of a sudden the police came, maybe the people in the house or something called, but the two of them, they ran and they hid in our house and didn't get caught, so that was good. Mark was also reminding me, thanks for telling me, because I forgot about this stuff, about this crazy dog Fritz in our backyard teasing Murray, the Great Dane. And Randy and I were both Murray was a crazy dog, and we were both scared of him because he was a monster and he was mean. He bit everybody, and the fence was maybe this high, and every once in a while Murray would get out and chase us, and it was scary. It was like, you were a little kid, and this giant dog was chasing you down. We also, me and Randy had Randy and I had a back in the day, some of you remember, when the beer can, Kenny remembers this, the beer can collected. So, and my uncle, Arnold here, he built us this monster shelf, do you remember that? In the basement, that probably held 500-600 cans. And we used to, me and Randy would go to the swap meets and the antique shows with my uncle and grandfather back in the day, because they were in the business of antiques and cars and music boxes, and we would find beer cans there and buy the beer cans. So that was a lot of fun. And even when our family went to the Olympics in 1976 in Montreal, and me and Randy we were like bums. We were going through the garbage cans to get Canadian beer cans, and then we're like, you know, rinsing them out, and like we're trying to put them in our suitcase, and I think our parents were like, "What are you doing?" You know, and we're bringing beer cans home, but we used to trade them, so it was a hot commodity having like a Molson beer can, because you couldn't buy any of that stuff here. So that was a lot of fun. Those were really good memories. And then, if you knew the Stearns and you were at my house on Allison Lane, there's one person that everybody knows, adored or was scared of, was Hazel Neely. And I know some Kenny knows, and Steve, and Mark, you guys know, but Mark Zizek knows, but Hazel Neely she lived with us, and she kind of ran the operation, and you know, she was great. So, in ending this thing, he fought a hard battle with this horrible disease of cancer. We went to many doctors. We thought we had it beat, but it was just too much for him. And it was just so hard, but he did it. He was a trooper. He went to the appointments. We went to so many different hospitals, and hearing the doctors just saying what they said just broke my heart. All through COVID too. And it's just a horrible time to have a disease during this period where you can't really do much. And he was, you know, afraid of getting COVID with the situation that we had, that it might not help, but knock on wood, he did not get it. And I mean, I was at his house last week, and we were eating, and he was sitting at the couch. He was showing me all these different YouTube videos about all these different car guys and the reviews on them, and it was funny stuff, and talking to him like it was, and he never complained, really never complained about it. So when I got the call and they said he needs to come to your house, we brought him in, we took care of him, you know, we did the best we could. And then he was a great guy. So, and again, I really appreciate everybody for coming out here, because it's a very difficult day for me, and if it was empty room, it would be horrible. So, thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd. At this time, Michael will say a few words.
I share with my brother, thank you for coming, not the easiest day to come out, so thank you again. Yeah, I mean, talk about a rough time. I mean, everything that he went through, he didn't complain about it, and he was stronger than I am, because I never could have gone through everything that he did and still keep going. Because before the cancer, there was just so many things starting in his 20s. Just so many rough periods, and I don't know how he did it. I just like I said, he's stronger than me. Randy turned me on to, the thing I'll remember the most is he turned me on to alternative before alternative was hit. And that could be, and starting with music. He turned me on to bands that I had never heard of, and a year later, everyone was listening to them. So he knew before it happened. God, he turned me on to the Grateful Dead before I even heard about them, and so many bands from London. And I used to have a radio show Saturdays at Neutral High School, and he would produce it. He'd make a playlist with all the music, and then He'd provide all the music for the show. It was fun. My brother's, I was talking about cars. I remember his Datsun 280Z. He loved that, and he had his tape deck, and just a lot of fun stuff. It was a different life back then, living in Wilmette. It was just, everything was different. It was fun. From the dealership, going there on Saturday mornings, as my brother mentioned. Randy took me to my first seeing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight. I mean, just alternative stuff that I never would have done on my own. Just, you know, he marched to his own drum, and he was. He's going to be missed. He hung out with us when he was feeling okay, when we would go out to dinner every once in a while in his last few months. And last time I saw him Tuesday evening, but I spoke to him over the weekend. And we talked a little bit about the game, and he sounded okay. And, you know, I just know he's in a better place now. And, I mean, he was the oldest brother, I was the youngest. So he took to me a little bit. Some fun stuff I will never forget. But, that's all I really had to say. But again, thank you for coming. Again, not the best day, but thank you, and thank you.
Let us honor Randy's memory with a moment of silence. Please rise and the memorial prayers. אין מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים. עמצה מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכנה. במעלות קדושים ודורים כזער הרקים מעשירים. את נשמת רנג'י שהלך לו עולמו. בעל הרחמים יסתרהו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. וצור בצור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו. וינוח בשלום על משכבו. ונאמר אמן. God full of mercy, who dwells in the heights. Provide a sure rest upon the divine presence's wings, within the range of the holy, pure, and glorious, who shine and resemble the skies, for the soul of our beloved Randy. The Master of Mercy will protect him forever, and will bind his soul in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. Let us all say, Amen. Please be seated, my friends.
My name is Lloyd Mandel, and I went to Locust and to New Trier, also with Randy, and told a few friends via text, and everybody was like, oh, even Scotty Becker, who Mark Zizek, very sad. He's just a sweet guy. It's very weird when you're a funeral director, you're suddenly burying someone that you went to school with. I'm honored, but certainly very sad. And my stepmother, Eileen, is very good friends with Randy's. So I just want to say my deepest condolences. I'm honored, but I feel really bad as well. We're going to be going to the gravesite, the family, because of the conditions. Once everyone know that it's not necessarily, if you don't want to go, you're not required. If you are going to go, we're going to proceed in the hearse. You can follow the hearse. I've been introducing this hearse recently. It's kind of unique. I think Bob and I picked it up last year. And kind of, it's called praising. And usually I explain it to people, but Todd's like, by the way, we please have the hearse, because he loved cars, and he loved cars, so, are there certain people that you want to be pallbearers? Are you and your brothers gonna want to be
Yeah.
there? Okay. And, any other people that you'd like to designate?
You know, and my boys, you know, whoever, Mark, David, Adam, Mark, whoever wants it. Is that Pat King back there? More
So,
the merrier.
the whoever would be pallbearers, if you'll come up here, because it's a little tight here, you'll just follow behind the casket. And then we'll proceed to the gravesite for how many people are online currently?
11.
The 11 people that are online, well, 11 devices, it's probably 20 or so people. We'll resume under interment in about 10 minutes, just, go to the next video down and we'll activate that once we get up to the gravesite.